Welcome to We Are MK, the new series designed to help get a true picture of business and life in Milton Keynes today, out to the UK and beyond. Joining me in the studio is Pete Winkelman, Chairman and owner of the MK Dons, to give his view on what makes this place so special. Peter, welcome and thanks for being our very first guest on We Are MK.
Right, it's my great pleasure, John.
And can I also thank you for bringing so many great moments like the Rugby World Cup and the night all MK Dons died and went to heaven when we beat Man U?
Well, it's true. I mean, what is fantastic about our relatively short history in football is we have already had some absolutely world-class moments. I remember going to Wembley, and of course you can never forget that Man United game. That will go down in our history.
Yeah, no, I still can't believe it, but you made it possible. So I guess there's a question, because we all know you from all of the press and publicity around the MK Dons, but there must be a story as to why you arrived in Milton Keynes in the first place.
Well, I think I'm like a lot of people that came to Milton Keynes. I had a young family. We were living in London. I had a studio in Fulham and a studio in Birmingham, and the opportunity came up to look at the studios at Great Linford Manor, and that was actually the draw. We thought if we got rid of our other studios, concentrated at Great Linford Manor. It's an absolutely fantastic place, of course, one of the 13 old villages that make up Milton Keynes. And I knew the owner. It had been a very difficult early 90s, if you people that can remember back that far, not good days. And he'd ended up in a mess, and he helped me find a way to work it out. So huge gratitude to the late Harry Maloney. Without him I wouldn't be in Milton Keynes. But I came here in 1993 with a young family, you know, with a drive to try and achieve something. It didn't work out as I thought. You know, I still thought that I could be in the music business in London because I was only 30 minutes away on a train. But culturally, it is so different to London. And what I found, as I say, like a lot of other people, is what a brilliant place it is to bring up a young family. You know, and my family grew up in Great Linford Manor in the early days around the groups, and we started recording other people's material. You know, the studio went from strength to strength. We did some fantastic records. I remember J.K. from Jamiroquai, Travelling Without Moving, his major record. That was, of course, done there. But you'd have artists as diverse as Nigel Kennedy. You know, what a fantastic artist he is. He taught me what it meant to be world class, just how hard you have to work and keep working to be world class. So, yes, some very inspirational people. And some magic moments in the music side. Anastasia rehearsing her whole set that she was going to play in London the next night when we just got back from a planning meeting on the stadium. So I mean, I have very, very fond memories. But my young son was a footballer, and that led me into the world of football. When I started, I was absolutely sure that I would never own a football club. We all know that's an absolutely horrendous and mad idea, because football clubs, like any other sporting venture, they just lose money, and it's about the ability to lose money. So originally the deals, of course, had Norwegian billionaires involved at Wimbledon, and that sounded like quite a sensible plan. I wasn't in football at the time. Culturally, terrible thing to do, to move a football club, but incredibly the supporters abandoned the club and left the club there really to either move to Milton Keynes or be liquidated. And so at that point we made the bold move to support the administrators moving them here, and then the rest is history. As I say, great moments of history like beating Man United, and awful moments of history like getting relegated out of the Championship a couple of years ago. So football is like life, lots of ups and downs, but Milton Keynes is very much the place that made it possible for me to live a dream.
Well, back in the time when you moved and you started to make your plans for football, Milton Keynes was less than half the size it is. So it must have been a vision of the future.
I'm not going to take credit for that. I followed a plan that was laid out in 1973, the first Milton Keynes City Master Plan, put in place by what I now believe were the most amazing people in the Development Corporation that had a vision and created something that is so strong, it's been so successful over the years. We'll talk about that, no doubt, some more now. But in 1973, they imagined a 30,000 all-seater stadium. This is before the Taylor Report and all that. That was absolutely their concept. And to be fair, they had worked over the years, including later with the council, to see if they could deliver that ambition. And that ambition would have meant a Luton moving or a Wimbledon moving or somebody moving. It wasn't ever based on developing a club from the grassroots. Having seen the success that other clubs have had in doing that, I probably possibly do wish that I could have gone the long way.
Yes.
But would we now have Stadium MK? And when you think about how important the stadium has been to represent the ambition of our new city, it allowed us to get involved in the FIFA World Cup bid for the football. It was a failed FA attempt at the time for the 2018 World Cup, but what it did lead on to was, of course, the Rugby World Cup. And that, for me, was the highlight of the opportunity that the work that we've done gave to the community of Milton Keynes to come together. And to actually see the stadium and all the things at the stadium operating at a world-class standard. It's a standard that we don't live up to every day of the week, and it's a standard that I know we need to get there. That's a bar that we've set, I look forward to the day when all of the businesses can operate at that absolutely top level that we did for the Rugby World Cup.
So would you say that kind of set a seal of international approval on the facility?
Yes, I think so, and a professionalism that we showed that night. You know, there was probably only Twickenham, but there was a better rugby environment in the whole of the Rugby World Cup. And for me, it was the coming together of Milton Keynes, 3 sellout attendances, tremendous spirit, tremendous atmosphere. Milton Keynes is good at putting a brave face to the world, a friendly face to the world, a welcoming face to the world. That's what we've done. That's in the nature, that's in the culture of the new city, that can-do and welcoming attitude. And I think the Rugby World Cup epitomised that for me. What I want to do, though, of course, there's no doubt, is be involved, be around delivering top-flight football to Milton Keynes, because the next big jump that we've got to do has to revolve around a Premier League football team, and you can't do that from the 3rd division. So I'm very clear that the next few years is about trying to get into that championship, trying to improve the structure even more so that we get a chance to go and hit that Premiership dream. Most times you think, well, we might need a big multinational partner to do that, and that might well be true, but I've watched my dear friend Dean Boyle at Huddersfield. It took him 2 penalty shootouts, but he got to the promised land, and that really is inspirational to all of us football clubs out there to know that that dream, it is there. You've just got to keep praying it can happen to you.
Well, of course, you produced the great Dele Alli through training.
I think Dele's story is one that, for me, when people criticise the move or criticise anything to do with getting football into Milton Keynes, I can point to the Dele Alli story. Now, you can never take anything away from Dele. The person that has created this success is him. It's his drive, it's his ambition, it's his dedication, it's his talent, it's all those things coming together. It is him that has made it successful. But what the club was able to do was to provide that opportunity. It's an opportunity that started with my own boy playing football, having to go off to Wickham 3 times a week, 2 hours there, 1 hour back, needing 2 parents, 2 cars, a full-time commitment practically to manage it. Wow. What about all those kids that didn't have that opportunity? And when you see somebody like Dele come through, who easily, without a professional football club in Milton Keynes, wouldn't have had the support to go to Arsenal or Tottenham. His talent would have taken him there, but his life reality wouldn't have allowed it to happen. And because it was on his doorstep, because he was able to buckle down and work just so hard, you know, he is the epitome of everything we've tried to be. And actually, when you see Dele and you talk to Telly and you see him now he's a superstar footballer. He's still that down-to-earth, totally respectful, responsible, nice guy. He does have that edge on the football pitch. We can never take that away from him. But actually, he's a proper bloke, and I'm so proud of his success, and I wish him continued success, because the future of England football rests on his shoulders. So that's no light liability.
Absolutely.
And he's from Milton Keynes.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to go to the Play of the Year Awards and sit next to Robbie Nielsen. And one of the big challenges is you've got world-class facilities and a club that's on track and a mission to get into the Premiership, but training facilities and having the ability for the youngsters to practice against their peer group.
John, I'm so pleased that you brought that up, because as much as I want to sit here and say how fantastic Milton Keynes is, what a great can-do attitude, how lucky we are to live in such a bright, forward-thinking city, we're still not delivering on the ground everything that we need to do.
Sure.
And one of the biggest mistakes I made as an owner of a football club was to allow the club to come to Milton Keynes, and it was all about the stadium, and it wasn't about the place where they go every day to do their work, the training ground. So it actually is a restriction on the success of the first team. Now let's move it across to the academy. It's forced us to, instead of being a Category 1 academy, which we were when Dele Alli was coming through and Brendan Galloway and some of our great young players, now we're a Category 3 academy because our facilities haven't been able to keep pace. Wow. So that means our games programme changes, and that loses opportunity for our best players. Now let's see how it's affecting the community, because what we need to remember about MK Dons is it has a big role to play in developing the community as well as developing football. And so we have 23 disability teams. We have a ladies' centre, a girls' centre of excellence, and a ladies' first team football environment. All of these people need facilities. We have an ability to take people through an upgrading process whereby you can go to centres, go to the development centres, and if you do well, you can end up in our academy. So we have that full pathway. All of these things are at risk without a training ground. So my current focus and my current efforts are put very much towards trying to do the training ground, and I know for some of our supporters they'll keep seeing money being spent in these directions when maybe it could be spent on the first team, but I do believe that I need to get these things in place. I've watched other clubs get to the Premier League without it all in place. I mean, Bournemouth are a great example of a team that will struggle in the Premier League because they haven't got their facilities in place, even though they've got such a great talented manager and talented squad. If Milton Keynes can get there, I want my legacy to be that infrastructure that means we can never not have what we need to be as successful as we can be. And that goes, as I say, throughout the club at every level that we do.
So would you say that's the one thing you now have in your plans for the future to change?
It's my single biggest thing still left to do on the tick boxes of what do you need to do, and as I say, it should have been there from day one. It has been there for the last few years. I'm not finding it easy to deliver it, so as I say, we recognise that we need all the help that we had in delivering the stadium in order to get the training ground real, but I appeal for that continued support because we are only halfway through a journey, and ultimately I still believe that football can bring even more to Milton Keynes in the future than it does now if we can keep its upward trajectory in the right direction.
It's key to our culture, it's key to our future success.
Absolutely, it's part of our sporting and cultural infrastructure.
So 10 years have passed since the Dons arrived, and the MK Sports and Educational Trust is also having a celebration. What are you planning over the next few months in line with MK50?
Well, we've already been very active in MK50. I was able to bring what we called the gift of football to everybody in Milton Keynes, and that gave everybody that's a Milton Keynes resident the opportunity to come to a game. And we'd supply the ticket. It focused around the Bolton game last year. I think we had about 23,000 people there. It was a fantastic vibe and the atmosphere because the stadium is built for people. You know, that's the one thing that I've got to do is inspire people to go. But you can only do that with success. And to be perfectly honest with you, John, I messed up in the last couple of years in terms of success on the pitch. It's why now Robbie Nielsen, a new manager, first time in a few years, has taken charge. It's the biggest turnover of players we've ever had in the time I've been at the football club in 1 year. And we'll have to see how they gel together. But obviously, results are starting to improve. And I'm very confident that we'll be there or thereabouts by the end of the season.
Well, Peter, it's been fabulous talking to you. I wish you all the best of luck on this season and the mission to get into the Premiership.
Thank you very much, John.
So, a big thank you to Peter there for helping us launch We Are MK as an initiative. If you have something you think will change the way people see Milton Keynes, then follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn, #WeAreMK, and every month we'll invite people with the best stories and news into the studio here in Milton Keynes to help let the world know why MK is one of the best places in the UK to live and work. Bye for now.
#WeAreMK.